I've Decided presents The Journey. Along the journey to your success, there are many great adventures and great insights. You can learn from it all. Hosted by Michelle Bohm and Reagan Ward. Tune in the first week of every month and be encouraged by guests who will share their success stories and their challenges.
Well, hello, I've Decided community. I'm happy to be with you today on the journey. I'm Michelle Bohm, and I'm here with my friend Jeannie Quick and co-host Jeannie Quick.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon already, right?
We usually do this in the morning. We're
doing it in the
afternoon.
I'm so happy to have you back. Are you feeling good?
A lot better.
Good.
I wanted to be more safe. It was probably just sinus.
Yeah, but we sure did miss you last month, and obviously a lot's happened in the last month, so I'm excited to catch up with you. But how was your Thanksgiving? That was just last week.
Great. Don't tell anybody, but my son came home. But
that's
it
good.
was still small. We have a huge, big garage, so it was still a small gathering. But
nice to be with him, and
yes.
I'm sure. Yeah,
I think it's made us appreciate family so much more this year.
Yeah,
and then not being able to see them just wants us to see them more.
Right. Yeah. Well, and Thanksgiving is all about being grateful for things.
Right.
For things, for people, the things that are important to you. So it's especially hard when you can't be around the ones you love, or you have to do it a different way.
Yeah. And this, I think also, this is the time of the year that we just kind of sit back and are grateful, especially Thanksgiving, grateful for what we do have, and kind of like what we don't have or what we do have. And hopefully on everybody that's watching, what they have is more than what they don't have. Yeah. And sometimes the things we don't have, we don't really need them anyway.
We don't need them. Yeah.
You need the basics, but also, just like we just spoke, family. Family is the very most important. And I think as you get older,
the more you realize that.
I notice now kind of some of the things that I kind of made fun of my grandmother. She was kind of talking about it, but I understand now what she was talking about. And I think when we're younger, we're so busy and we have little ones or whatever like that. But, it kind of sinks in. But,
and that was always my favorite tradition at Thanksgiving, is when you went around the table and you said what you were grateful for. That was always just my favorite part. But did you notice that people rarely say that they're grateful for something that they later on say they're lacking? Like, nobody says, I'm grateful for how much money I have.
Oh, no.
When they're going around the kid. But when they're complaining about what's going wrong in their life, it's usually a scarcity of money, of time, of whatever. But that's not what we're talking about when we're sitting around the table saying how grateful we are. It's always family. It's our health. It's the things that really matter. Friendships, yes. Yeah.
Any of those things. Yeah. And boy, I tell you, this year, I'm a people person.
Yeah.
And I miss friends. I miss networking. I miss all of that. And can't wait till we can start doing that.
Me too.
But,
Me too.
Tomorrow is December 1st.
It's hard to believe.
So we have 1 month to really think about gratitude.
Yeah.
And reset and recharge and everything. And I challenge our audience to do that.
Yeah,
Take
spend
time.
the next 30 days. Give yourself a good 30 days of thinking about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
At least once or twice a week, sit down and kind of clear your plate and have a little bit of time that you even write out gratitude.
Well, I think a lot of people struggle with that, though. And so... And because that's our weekly winning word, we'll give them some tips to maybe make it a little bit easier to express gratitude. But when you're going through hard stuff, and especially when you've had a long, hard year like we've had, sometimes it's a little bit harder.
Well, you're always, when things are going good and you got enough money to pay the bills and food and all that kind of stuff, it's so easy to do gratitude. Mm-hmm. To someone and be grateful in that. But when we start getting under stress, it goes.
It's always the first thing that goes, right? You start focusing on the situation that you're in, your circumstances. Mm-hmm. And then eventually, if you do that long enough, you feel stuck.
Yes.
betting after a very long year, people are feeling stuck right now.
They are.
So the weekly winning resource that we get as part of the I've Decided community has some good little tips for gratitude and expressing gratitude to others, and how that can really like transform our life. I know this is something that you preach. So what little tips do you have about expressing gratitude to others, or feeling it, I guess, is the first step, but you got to feel it first.
Well, I did some research, and I always get the
we
definition
like to
or whatever like that.
up, yep.
But I wrote down like 5 different things, and I'm going to kind of quiz you
I
on
see 'em.
some of these ones and everything. One of the things is a gratitude journal.
Yes, I have heard that.
Do you have one?
I don't keep when I was first learning to be a little bit more grateful and like really trying to focus on that, because that was a habit. I wanted to change my habit of whining,
Yes,
when I'm
yes.
like complaining about stuff. And I was like, I don't like that about myself. I don't want to do that anymore. I made it more of a habit, and I had a special journal that I wrote in every night. And it was just like 3 things. That's all it was. It was 3 things. 3 bullet points of something I was thankful for. And some days it was like, I was thankful that the dog didn't pee on the rug today. Like it was nothing, great. But other times it was like, I got to have lunch with my friend Jeannie today. And that was the best.
I think reflecting is a lot easier than kind of planning the future. So I challenge you, like at the end of the week, on the weekend or something like that, sit down and review
Think about it.
what you did the week before and what are those gratitude things.
Yeah.
That's the first one and everything. The second one is write a letter of gratitude to somebody that has helped you along the way.
Yeah.
I think of Doris Simmons.
Oh gosh, I
you
love.
know.
Yeah.
Bless her heart, you know.
She has helped so many people, and
No.
yeah.
But I could just see her if she gets a letter from
Yeah.
either one of us or somebody else, she, will read that, and that woman will probably be crying.
She will, because I've done that to her, and she's called me up afterwards, after I just wrote a nice little note. But do you know why I do that? Especially for Doris? Because she does that for other people. I know that she does that for other people.
Oh, yes.
Because I've gotten one of those before.
Me too.
And so and she taught me that, like when you feel grateful for something or someone, you should tell them.
Yeah.
As soon as you have that thought, you should do something. Maybe it's send a quick text. Maybe it's I'm as good as Doris and I actually handwrite, hand notes. Maybe sometimes I've had friends that I've surprised with big things before because I know they were going through something hard or whatever. But even if it's just the thought of, man, I really, really grateful that Jeannie's my friend. I had a really great time at lunch. A lot of times I would just think that and not do anything with it.
Right.
Now I do something.
Right. And then the next one is a gratitude jar.
What's it? Okay, gratitude jar, not a journal, a jar.
Jar.
Okay.
Because you're going to have this little jar, and when somebody pops into your mind, sometimes we don't have time to write out a little thing or something. So just on a little Post-it, put down, send note to Michelle.
Okay.
Or send note to Doris or whatever like that. And if you have time, put like why, but then put it in there. And then at the end of the week or something, pull out 3 of them.
Do that? Okay, yeah, like a way to manage my thankfulness.
Right.
Okay,
And,
I like that.
and hopefully it doesn't get too much more, and everything. And then one of the ones that just popped in my head and everything, pay it forward.
Yeah.
I mean, that is something if you're in the line of McDonald's and the person behind it just say, well, it's kind of hard the one in front.
Yeah,
but just say, here's $10, put it on their bill.
Right.
Or
Yeah.
something, or somebody else buy them a coffee or whatever like that. So, pay it forward to somebody or whatever.
And the anonymous ones are the best because then they don't know who did it,
Or whatever. And that. And then my last one, which I do this, I kind of start in July and my husband makes fun of me and everything. Avoid the internet, avoid movies or anything that kind of pulls you down. And that. I watch Christmas movies. I start in about July, and my husband says, "Oh, really?" But you know what? They build you up. They give you that positive and everything, and I love that.
Yeah. I do too.
Yeah. So it keeps me in a good mood. And if I'm kind of stressed or whatever like that, sometimes I'll go in there. I've got a lot of them recorded.
Yeah.
And I'll just like it. My favorite one is It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah.
I watch that every year. So, but anyway, those are just little tips that I have, but it also, you want to make make gratitude a habit.
Yes. Yes.
Going into the next year, so that's something that's you need to have.
And I'm so glad you said that word habit, because that is what I did to change myself. I changed my habits when I realized that I wasn't that I was whining and complaining a lot more than I was feeling thankful and happy. The way that I changed that was just simple habits, and you do that enough, and then it becomes who you are. It becomes just how you live your life, not something that you have to do with intention every single time, because it is hard to do that.
I had underlined too is spend more time in a state of gratitude.
Yes. So do you think that gratitude is a feeling? Like, do you feel gratitude, or is it an action? I think it's a feeling.
I think it's both.
I think the feeling of gratitude is when I feel so happy that I had lunch with Jeannie today. But the expressing of the gratitude is where it actually creates change.
Yeah. That's
the
why
habit.
I think it's both.
Yeah.
It depends on how far you do. If you just think that and you don't go through with it, then you've missed the whole experience.
Well, I think of it as like amplifying the feeling.
Oh,
because when I feel thankful that Jeannie asked me to go to lunch and I had such a great time, if I feel that and I don't say anything, well, then that's just my like, it just feels good to me. Jeannie doesn't know how I feel about it. So if I want to make that feeling even bigger, I got to tell Jeannie about it and say thank you.
But don't you feel better?
Oh, yes.
Even if you write that note and you send it to Doris, okay, or whatever. Whether she opened it or she didn't, you feel better.
Yes. Yeah.
And it makes you feel better.
Yeah. There's a quote in the resource, and you probably underlined it too. And I remember I probably heard this 15 years ago, and I thought, I wonder if that's true or not, because I do think it's a common misconception. But the quote is, it's not a happy heart that is grateful. It's a grateful heart that is happy.
Yes, I did underline that.
So people think, and I used to say this, I'll be happy when I reach that goal, or when I lose 20 pounds, or when I, whatever. I'll be happy when that happens. But if you can find a way to be happy right now, that way is gratitude, by being thankful for what you already have.
Well, it's experiencing every little thing along that journey.
Yeah.
And I think journey was one of our words this last year.
Yeah.
So, stop and smell the roses. Stop running through there. And if it does mean taking 10 or 15 minutes to write a note to somebody or call somebody on the phone, it's going to make you feel better. And can you imagine how it makes them feel?
Yeah.
So.
And then guess what they do?
Right.
Next time they do
Pay
it.
it forward.
They pay it forward, just like you were saying. Yeah. So that it just creates this, this chain of giving.
Right.
I didn't realize how much of my life I did spend whining and complaining, which is very shocking, because whining was not allowed in my house when I was a kid. Like, that was just not, you never got what you wanted when you whined. So you learned real quick not to whine. And I feel like I did the same thing with my kids, but I've caught myself in this habit, and I caught myself in it just the other day. I was complaining and whining about how awful the world is right now. Look, everybody's mad at everybody. Everybody hates everybody. There's so much negativity and just divisive, families are being torn apart. These are all the thoughts that I'm having in my head and speaking out loud to anybody that'll listen about how awful things are. And before I know it, I caught myself a couple days in where I was like, man, I've been just negative. Like, what do I do when I'm like that? I stop and I pay attention to my thoughts, and I tell my brain, I need you, brain, to point out all the ways that people are happy right now. I need you to point out all the ways that people are kind. And so then I just wait, And you wouldn't believe it, but guess what? My brain started pointing out all the things to be thankful for, all the things to be grateful for. And it was like first that day on the way to work, somebody flashed their lights at me so that I turned my headlights on. And normally you wouldn't think anything of that. Or I would be like, oh, okay, I'll turn my lights on, But I go, oh, that was so kind of that. And I literally said it out loud. I was the only person in the car. Mm-hmm. But I said, that was so kind of that person to tell me to turn my lights on. Now, for all I know, that person was mad at me because I didn't have my lights on. But I decided that I was going to be, that was a kind gesture that they did.
It's how you were receiving it.
It's how I was receiving it. The lady that bagged up my groceries at Kroger's had a mask on. But she looked at me, and I could tell she was smiling. And I said, oh, that's so kind. And I just said it out loud. And she was like, what's kind? She's looking around like, what's kind? I was like, no, you were just smiling at me. That's kind. Thank you.
I think we can't see that smile.
Yeah.
So we're watching the eyes.
Yeah.
And the eyes are smiling.
Yeah. But just by me saying the words, that was so kind. Thank you. I pointed it out. I literally pointed to kindness in strangers so that I could believe that there was kindness and that people loved each other. And, I'll go watch those Hallmark stories too, just so I can believe that that's there. But sometimes if we catch ourselves in those negative loops, all we have to do is point out the opposite.
Right.
And then it starts changing the way you think. And then I'm like, oh man, the world, everybody's so happy. Everybody's so great right now. There's Christmas spirit in the air. It just totally shifts the way you see the world.
Another thing that I underlined and everything, gratitude shifts your focus from what your life lacks to the abundance that you already have in the present. So
and shifting that perspective
yes,
is so important. I mean, it's really, really hard to complain. I mean, there's been tough times that our family's gone through, horrible times. But there's always somebody else that needs, your empathy more than you need to dwell on your misfortunes. There's always somebody worse off.
I think you just have to sometimes think outside the box, and especially right now.
Yeah.
And I heard on the way into town this morning, they were talking about how Thanksgiving and things were done and everything. And there was this one grandma that still wanted to cook
Make
for
everything.
her family.
Yeah.
So she did, and she had to-go dinners
Yeah.
and curbside pickup.
Oh, see, that's so great.
And so her family would
Yeah.
come and kind of say hi a little bit,
Yeah.
grab their meal, and go home and eat it. But
Yeah.
and then she felt good. So
Yeah.
there's her gratitude.
Yeah, that's what we did too. We did curbside for friends and stuff. But if you let yourself get into the habit of negative thinking, you can choose to switch that around and make it an attitude of gratitude. I have that sign, attitude of gratitude on everything. It's just as easy to do that. And guess what? I'm a heck of a lot happier when I am focusing on those things versus all the negative. I'm a lot happier.
Don't think about your problems
No.
because you're busy helping someone else.
And if you can just shift that perspective just a little bit, your circumstances don't have to change at all. That's why I believe that it's true that a grateful heart makes you happy, not the other way around.
Right.
Because I've experienced that in my own life where I just changed the way I think about something. The circumstance has not changed at all, but I feel completely different about it. Mm-hmm. So for those people that are, really struggling right now, to find things to be thankful for this Thanksgiving, because we gotta say it's different this year and it's tough. For a lot of people, especially if they haven't experienced hard times in the past, this feels really hard. But if they can just
there's a lot of positives, and I think if we concentrate on the positives and do the gratitude and everything, we can see some good things.
I think so too.
Come out of this.
And that will put us in the right mindset to hit 2021, right? That'll put us in the much better mindset. We'll be able to see more options and more opportunities if we are in that positive space versus the negative. So this Thanksgiving week, I guess we can call it Thanksgiving week, everybody should just spend a little bit more time on gratitude. Make all the difference in the world.
Send some notes. Get a pile of little notes and send them.
I think I might try the jar. I kind of like that idea. That'd be something good for my kids to do all day while they're home.
We've kind of got away from those Christmas cards.
Yeah.
Pull them out and send a little note, especially to some of your people that you really...
If you're bored, send a Christmas card.
Bored?
I haven't been bored since 1994. I don't know what that feels like anymore, but yeah, do something positive for someone else, and it does just change the way you feel about everything.
It does, yeah.
So Jeannie, for 2020, even though it's been rough and I haven't been able to see you as much as I did last year, I'm so grateful for you and your friendship and your expertise and everything and just what you bring to the world. I'm so grateful I know you.
Thank you. And I'm glad to know you too.
All right, I've Decided community. We're out of time on the journey. We're already out of time. So if you've enjoyed this or any of our I've Decided shows, we want to invite you to come to the community. That's where you're going to get these resources and where you're going to have conversations like we have on the journey and all of the other I've Decided shows. You can get all of that in one place. So if you are not a member, visit ivedecided.org to find out more, find out how you can join and get all of these resources yourself.
And have a Merry Christmas.
Yes, we won't see you before Christmas. So have a Merry Christmas. See you in 2021. Bye-bye.
Bye.
PeoriaLife.com